Did you guys know that Woody Johnson was voted the worst owner in the NFL, and Shedeur Sanders just might be a New York Jet after the draft? There's a lot of Jets news coming out of the combine, so let's talk hashtag Jet Up with Jake Asman of the Jake Asman Show at ESPN Radio. Jake, what's going on, man? Loving the setup.
Brandon, I appreciate you having me. I mean, combine's in full swing. This is a fun week if you're a football fan.
All right, let's get straight into this because the NFLPA just issued their annual team report cards, and the Jets finished 29th out of 32 teams in the league in the ranking. On top of that, Woody Johnson was given an F as his grade as a team owner, and he's the only owner in the league to be graded that low. My man got a B- last year, so two-part question. Does that surprise you? And number two, is Woody holding up the franchise?
Well, I guess I'm not surprised given how the most recent Jet season, which if you're a Jet fan was maybe one of the worst, if not the worst season, how that played out maybe influences the vote. Because you brought it up. I mean, a year ago, Woody Johnson was a B-. So what changed over the last year? Well, I think a lot of players liked Robert Saleh, and he fired a head coach 5 games into the season, and it almost feels like the animosity from that decision and just the way it impacted the rest of the team, that maybe had a lot to do with this. I mean, it was interesting in that same study or that same report card that the NFLPA put out. I think Jeff Ulbrich got a B, and I almost feel like that almost invalidates the rest of the report card because any Jet fan who watched Jeff Ulbrich try and coach, and it's not his fault, obviously. He didn't make himself the interim head coach, but if you're going to give that guy a B, I mean, what are we talking about here? So, look, Woody's not a good owner until proven otherwise, but, I'm not totally shocked that it went from B- to F given what happened this year. And, do they have an ownership problem? Is he holding them back? You certainly could say, yeah, he is because the team hasn't won, but this is also the same owner that, in his first 10 years, the Jets made the playoffs 6 times. So I'm someone who believes you got to hire the right people and stay out of the way. I think Woody's going to get this new regime time with Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji, but they got to win. Like, that's the only way things change. I'm a huge Knicks fan, Brandon. There's not a whole lot of people chanting fire the team at James Dolan right now because he finally got the right people and he has stayed out of the way, and Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau have made him look really smart for doing so. So I think that's what it really comes down to with Woody. Did he hire the right people? Will he let them do their jobs? Only time will tell.
Yeah, hopefully they can get back on track because Woody's grade looking like my high school transcripts right now. Let's talk about new head coach and GM. They spoke about their decision to move on from Aaron Rodgers. They didn't really get into details, but they did address that. They didn't give him an ultimatum like what was reported. What's your thoughts on what they said about moving on?
I'm not really surprised. They basically tried to put it to bed when they spoke to the media this week, essentially trying to say these are private conversations and we're doing what's best for the team. The only thing that the Jets are going to struggle with here in the short term, because you have a lot of fans who wanted Aaron Rodgers back because they believe he gives the team the best chance to win for a year, which I agree with. I understand that. They're going to come out and say, well, we're trying to win. Like Aaron Glenn said multiple times yesterday, we're here to win now and going forward. Well, it's a tough sell to some of the fan base who believe Aaron Rodgers was your best chance to have a winning season next year, to maybe fight for a playoff spot. So now, what's the direct plan at quarterback? They have every right to move on. That's their decision. Fine. But now what's the plan at quarterback going forward? Because you look at the options out there in free agency, it's not great. They're picking number 7 in the draft. It's not supposedly a great QB draft, and maybe the top guys are even off the board by the time they're there at 7. So they're saying they want to win now, but they actually got to go out there and put together a plan that allows them to do it because a lot of people believe Rodgers, as the bridge quarterback for a year, would give them that best chance to win.
Speaking of quarterbacks, real fast, Mel Kiper had Shedeur Sanders falling to the Jets at 7 in his latest mock draft. Yes, no, or why? Is Shedeur Sanders going to be the Jets' QB1 opening day?
I would be surprised if he is because I look at it from this standpoint. They're moving off of Aaron Rodgers in part because he's the center of the universe everywhere he goes. And, Aaron Glenn comes from Bill Parcells. He doesn't like celebrity quarterbacks, they say. Well, then you're going to draft the son of Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders. He already has a podcast in college who I was at Radio Row for the Super Bowl a few weeks ago. Had an entire set up for him to be able to do a show. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, but I just think it doesn't jive with what the Jets are trying to establish with it being about the team and not the quarterback and then the team, which was the vibe that they're trying to, intimate you'd always have with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. So from that standpoint, I'd be surprised. And I also just don't think he's going to be there at 7. I'd be very surprised, given the teams in front of the Jets that need quarterbacks, if somehow Shedeur would even fall to 7 in the first place. So that would surprise me. I don't think he's going to end up being the Jet quarterback.
All right, Jake, enjoy the combine, and thanks for your time, man.
Brandon, appreciate you having me, man. Thanks so much.